Hi, it's Beastly Bader. Welcome back. It is officially season 2 of the Beta Escape, and I'm so excited to bring this back to you all. I told you all that I was going to take a short break to figure out some cool stuff and bring out some cool ideas and talk to some really cool people. And today is no exception. I have a very special guest with me today. Before I introduce him, I really want to start off by saying that we will be talking about explicit content and we will use explicit language. And secondly, I am not a licensed medical professional. We are simply talking about our views and thoughts on masturbation and baiterness and brotherhood and all things sexy. So please use caution if you were to take our advice. But yeah, let me just introduce my bait bro here, Luke. Welcome to the Beta Escape.
Thanks, Beastly Bader. Great to be here. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
I've been waiting for someone to say that to me. I would just personally want to thank you so much for really being here and talking to me about baitership and brotherhood. And I think it's so exciting. And you know, when I first began being visible in the bait community, especially like in, you know, on social media, like it just, for me personally, it never clicked to find baiters on social media. Like it's the obvious place to
find yes,
but it just didn't click. So yeah, so I've said it on podcasts before, like for me, like Bait World in the beginning was just like this platform for me to kind of lurk around and kind of like for a couple of years and not really engage. And then I just made the decision to be like, hey, if I really want to make a connection, I have to be vulnerable and, you know, be seen. Do you feel that was the same for you? Did you have the same?
Yeah, so it was kind of like that for me because I was the lurker on Tumblr, like before Tumblr became uncool, like, and the great exodus happened. And that's kind of when I like clicked and said, you know, I should contribute something. And that's when I started my Twitter shortly thereafter. And really just as like a way to like share like solo sex pleasure and what like I enjoy, and not really in like a hey, everyone do what I do kind of thing, but it's like, hey, this is just like how I enjoy myself. And I joined Bait World as well. And I kind of use that as like a way just to kind of keep up with people and chat and occasionally like get on video with other guys and stuff like that and just like hang out.
Yeah.
It was like a way to stay connected and like, oh yeah, this is good. This is like everyone has their own version of pleasure kind of situation. So.
And when did you first come in contact with Bait World? Like, I want to get into the history. Like, that's always that's such an important question for you to ask, because I'm just like, because there's a moment in every baiter's life when they're just like, I'm a solo sexual, like I am a baiter, this is my life. And then you begin to like kind of be like, okay, like where can I find the information, or where can I find my tribe, right? Like where can I find all these things that resonate with me? So I'm curious to know, like, when you discovered, well, first and foremost, like, when did you discover your sexuality? Like, when did that start happening for you?
Oh God. So I went to private school.
Okay.
And Catholic private school. So just take that with a grain of salt. I came out when I was 16 as gay.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, I was with other guys and, you know, had a good time and stuff like that. I didn't really realize that I was like a solo sexual until I was probably 20.
Okay.
It took a couple of years to realize, like, you know, I am best at giving me pleasure.
That's so profound to me, because that just at that age, I was not thinking that. Like, it just did not cross my mind at such a young age. And like these kids are like these young people that are coming out to me, they're just like, can you be my mentor? And I'm just like, what are you doing? Go study. Like, it's cool. Well, it's really cool.
And it was like part of like my self-awareness journey was like, you know, I had some like relationships where it's like, I'm just not getting anything out of this. And it was like, you know, I was really trying to critically think about it. Like, I want to be successful in this. But it's like, I didn't really realize what I wanted until like I started exploring what I wanted all the time. And
Mm,
then it allowed me to, when I did have like partnered experiences where it's like, no, this is like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm here to like be part of your pleasure story, but like, I'm here for me too. And almost like, not in like in a selfish sort of way, but it was just like, I'll show you what to do, but I'm still going to be better at it because I've been doing it my whole life. So
yeah, definitely. So like when you was that just like was that just a what am I trying to say? Was that just an instinctual thing for you? Like, did you just wake up and was it like a process? Did you think to yourself, like, I don't like, this is the kind of sex that really gets me off?
I don't think it was definitely not like immediate, and it
Yeah.
really was like a kind of like a process of elimination almost, where it's like over time I kept realizing like all the good experiences are me owning my own pleasure.
Yes.
And then it was like, oh yeah, this is just the best way to do it. And I've had like, don't get me wrong, like I've had really good partnered sex, but
Yes.
just never as good as like a multi-day edging session leading up to like multiple hours of just like, you can go a lot longer when it's just you.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I feel like it was the same for me, and I feel like there was certainly cues that I was like neglecting to see because I just assumed that
Assumed.
a type of sex was like the sex I was supposed to have. And then when you like, it's so great, like when you say like your self-awareness came at such a young age, like for me, it just came a lot later in life. Like I would say, like I discovered my soul sexuality. I was living in New York for sure. I was probably 32, 33 when I kind of like first started like having these feelings of like, this isn't what I want, this is what I want, and why am I feeling like this?
And I'll turn 30
Okay.
in a year,
Okay.
essentially, like less than a year really, but um it's
You're definitely a little bro.
well, someone has to be younger, someone has to be older.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It'd be creepy if all of the baiters in the world were the exact same age. Something
Yeah.
happened in the water that year. But yeah, it was one of those things where it was like I could, you know, take care of myself, and like learning to love myself, it made me better at loving other people too, and like led me to finding like my partner, and was like a lot just happier overall. And it was like coming out again kind of situation. When I came out as gay and like that I was attracted to men, that was like one huge release of like emotion and clarity. And then like this was like another one all over again. I'm like, okay, what's going to be the next realization I make in my life?
You're totally right. And I was raising my hand. You guys can't see it, but I was like, preach, brother. Like, that's such a profound, like, to me, like, people always ask me, like, well, what is homosexuality to you? Like, what is betaship to you? And I'm just like, first and foremost, it's the relationship I have with myself. Like, it's me giving me the self-love that others have neglected to give me. And I can go on and on about my history and like growing up and trauma and absence of like love, but just, I, for me, when I really started to really come to terms with my soul sexuality, I needed to come from a positive place because I feel like all of my sexual experiences were just really negative, and it was me depending on an external force to give me pleasure and validation. And once I realized that you're like, fuck that. Like, this isn't good. Like, what you're giving me is not great. And I know that I can give myself greatness. So why wouldn't I?
Yeah. Well, and then it's like when you take that out of the equation too, once you know you have yourself figured out, and it's like you can focus on the other parts that you can get from somebody else too, which is where it kind of all falls back into place and everything's happy.
No, I totally agree. And I just recently like wrote an article for the beta blog for Bait World, and I specifically talked about that. And I was like, hey, listen, like sometimes it's difficult to be solo. Like I can disclose that you're in a relationship right now.
Yeah.
I'm single. So I can understand like the hardships of being a solo sexual because essentially you're having solo sex, you're by yourself, right? So you can get lonely. So I always stress and I always make it a point to talk about that as solo sexuals, we really need to pay attention to other things that our lives and our body needs, like affection, physical touch is really important, I feel. So like while I enjoy like these solo time activities, like there's something to be said about having a partner. But then, that goes into like having like bait bros and bait buddies and bait groups. And that's, we can certainly talk about that because that's hot.
Well, and it's one of those things like, we can be solo sexuals. It doesn't mean we don't like people and being around people. Like, we're still human beings that need community. Like, humans are community creatures. And so like, that's where I think, and COVID is kind of a challenge in that too, because it keeps people further apart, but it's also like making people reach out more and more. Like, I see more people online, like sharing than ever before, because we all need that community and they want to be a part of something. Yeah. And, it's okay to be a solo sexual and still want to like date with your bros.
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess the reason I tell you that, because I get asked that all the time. So like, I'm on Hinge, like I'm on these apps, and I'm very proud. Like, I'm super proud. I have a t-shirt that says solo sexual. I have a sweatshirt that says baiter. Like, I create these things. Yeah. All right, you guys can't see that we just stood up and his shirt said, "Don't hate, masturbate." It's like, no, namaste.
Namaste.
It is. It's such a vibe, and it's such a lifestyle. And I think one of the things that I'm trying to do right now with all of my platforms, and I'm very conscious of it, it's very purposeful, is to make masturbation cool. Like, I think people just knock it as this thing where it's just like,
oh, I masturbated today. Or if they even think about it.
Yeah, or it's like this idea that you're unable to get laid, that you don't know how to get laid, or that you don't know how to fuck. Like, it's all these like negative, like, oh, there has to be something wrong with you if you chose masturbation over like having physical sex with someone. No,
Not
like
true.
we're both shaking our heads.
Like all of this day was like, no.
We're like, no. But like, I was saying,
not
like,
to toot my own horn, but I'm actually really good at all those other things. I just don't enjoy it as much.
Me too. And that's not to say, like, I said it before, like, if I want to fuck, like, I want to fuck. Like, and there's moments in my life where I'm just like, listen, I just want to get it in. Like, I need, and I think that's such a guy thing, and one of the most beautiful things about like being a masturbator and a brother is tapping into those like male qualities that I didn't realize I had, but I like neglected. And I was just like, yo, like being a dude is so sexy. Like and when you begin to like really explore who you are as a person, you begin to like really understand that the male body is like so beautiful. And I had never really paid attention to that. And now I'm growing out my beard and I don't trim my chest. And like, I don't, I really don't shave my bush. Like, I love like these male, like primal things about myself, which turn me on. So that's been like another positive thing about like discovering my solo sexuality. I'm just like, I'm fucking hot.
And that's okay.
Yeah, that's totally fine. But I was gonna ask, where do you live? You live in
Alabama.
You live okay.
Now, I'm not originally from here, so
okay. Where are you originally from?
Now, because that's where my partner needed to be for work. So I'm actually from the Midwest, and so the nice thing here is like it's warm all year round, pretty much. And so it's like I'm gonna go masturbate outside.
Yeah, I always see like your Twitter. Okay, you guys have to follow Luke on Twitter. I'm gonna tell you guys his thing because he's super sexy. His handle is @BaderLuke. Yeah. And then you have parentheses. It's like Comer.Bader with a K. Yeah,
because it's like on other platforms like Bait World, like Bader Luke was already taken, so I had to have like other things.
Oh, but you have it on your profile. It says find me on Bait World, Bader Luke, Comer with a K.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, you guys should definitely all follow him. It's beautiful tweets. I'm looking at it right now.
He's gonna get real distracted in this conversation.
But I think that's okay. Here's another thing: the beauty about masturbators, like we can look at each other masturbate, and it's like this honorable mention, right? It's not like this shameful thing where it's like, oh my god, I just saw your dick. No, like I'm physically looking at your penis, stroking it, and I think it's so beautiful. Like, because I know what that feels like, and I'm definitely gonna do it after this call.
I was doing it before this call. I'm gonna do it after this call.
Yeah, and it's just like I think that once like being okay, here's another thing we can talk about. Like being a baiter for me has brought so much pride in exhibitionism. It's something I never thought would be for me, or it's something I never thought I could do based on my based on my physical appearance. Like I just it's this weird, it was this weird like mental block where I was like, someone like me can never get naked, right? Like and show off my dick. And then slowly but surely what ended up happening was I started meeting men and I was just like, oh, like here's a cock shot, you know, here's a ball shot, here's an ass shot. And then it was just like, here's a full body shot. And then he was like, here's a full body with my face shot. And then once I like had the major confidence, I was all out there. I was just like, here you go, y'all. Like just take it.
Well, and it's like, I think that's kind of one of the nice things about being part of like the baiter community is you see all different kinds from like you know, what you could call stereotypical beauty, like that porn beauty, all the way to like every shape, size, color, you know, masturbation style, like big, small, trans penises. It's all like a huge plethora out there that you can see yourself in. And that's where I think the exhibition, like the willingness to share comes in as well, because you've seen others like you in some way. And up until that point, most people don't ever see someone that looks like them doing that.
Yeah. Yes, you're absolutely correct. You're totally right. And it's like when I finally gathered the courage to just go out there and like really seek it. Like, okay, like you can't, we're so niche and I know that. So like I'm always encouraging men who like contact me or who like listen to my podcast to be like, go out there and find it. Like you have to do the work.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of like, we're very lucky in the age of the internet that we can find each other. You know, you're like 3,000 miles away from me, but we can have a conversation and talk around it and realize, okay, we're not the only ones. Whereas, you know, 20 years ago, like you wouldn't, unless you were really lucky and had been masturbating with your childhood friends, like you would not have ever like had that experience.
Yeah.
So
I absolutely 100% agree. So I'm in LA. I've been born and raised here. So I'm curious to know what's the bait scene like in Alabama? Like, let's get into this. Do you enjoy baiting with other men? Is it specifically solo because you're with a partner? Like what's your preference to all this?
Solo because I'm with a partner.
Okay.
Like cam is fine, but like not like in person anymore. Like that's just kind of like a level of respect and understanding in the relationship. And my partner is more asexual. And so like a very low sex drive in comparison to me. And so it's like, he doesn't always care if I'm doing it. He's like, oh yeah, you go do your thing. Like,
wow, that's so
but like but you know, I was an influence on his sexuality, and it's like, it's okay to not be as horny as other guys. You don't have to like put out all the time to be in a happy and committed relationship. Like we have other things that we do in our lives, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, and like, I just remember the first time he's like, what's albaline? He's like, why do you have like 3 jars of it like around the house? I'm like, let me tell you, yeah, that goes on my penis.
Yeah. Or like, let me show you. Like,
well, and then that's like, this is what I do when you're not here.
Yeah.
Like I masturbate the same whether we're together or not.
So when you engage in sexual acts with your partner, is it masturbation?
Almost like entirely. Yes. You know, he occasionally wants to do other things, and that's like, you know, and I love him, and so I do those other things because it's for him. It's a selfless act. Like, you know, I don't necessarily get as much enjoyment out of it as he does at that moment in time. But it's like, again, I can take care of myself while doing those things. I'm really good at pleasuring myself while doing those things.
Yeah.
And that's like, you know, that's just how sex works for us now.
Yeah.
And it's good.
Yeah.
So
no, that's so great. So like, I was talking about how like a lot of men approach me and ask me questions about social sexuality because I have it like I'm on Grindr, Scruff, and like Hinge. I get a lot of questions on Hinge because I say, you know, they ask you questions as a profile, like sparks of interest, right? So I'll put, I identify as a solosexual slash baiter, and I get a lot of men that are just like, well, what's solosexuality and what's a baiter? And I'm just like, well, let me explain to you. Yes. And
follow me on Twitter and you'll find out real fast.
Yeah, you know, just the other day, here, I'll pull up my phone. Just the other day, this guy hit me up and was just like, I think I might be a solosexual. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like, if you want to know my thoughts on sexuality, you can follow me here, read blah, blah, blah. And he was just like, yeah, like I've checked Bait World once in a while. So this is how it starts, right? And so now I feel like now I've had this experience and I'm in a position to be like, well, you need to go on baitworld.com and you need to follow this, you need to follow that. And it's like you enhance the relationship with who they are, like you give them information. But the thing I get asked the question the most is, how does that affect your relationship with a potential partner? Or like, are you single by choice to just be solosexual? And I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive.
No, and it's you know, it sounds cliche, but it's like it's all about communication. And like a lot of people, like they don't like that are, you know, they know they like to masturbate and they know they're really good at masturbating themselves, and if they're solosexual, even if they've come to that realization, like they feel like it's not okay to like tell people what that means like up front because they're afraid that the people are going to walk away. And if people walk away, that means they weren't the right person at that time. Even if it was just a fling, it's like they don't get it. And that's okay if they don't get it. Like everyone gets their own pleasure in their own ways. Like you get into the world of porn, you'll see everything under the sun people find enjoyable. But you need to be honest and communicative with your potential partners. Like, this is just who I am. And you'll find the ones that are okay with it because of that. And that's my personal experience. It's like, you know, from the very beginning, I was very open with my partner. It's like, you know, I know how to do me best. It is not about you. Because that's where I think that the hardest part is in like being in a relationship as a baiter is when your partner feels like they can't do something for you. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't have any need for you to do that for me.
Yeah.
That's okay. And it's not about you, and you're not deficient. And that's where it's like, you got to constantly be a different kind of communication. It's like being with a partner and like doing penetrative sex and them being too big for you. Like, you have to communicate those kinds of things. Like,
but that's
like go for it and see what happens and let the pieces figure themselves out in the future. Like,
well, yes, exactly. I can totally agree on everything that you just said. But I think also too, like that just comes with a level of like sexual maturity. It's a level of sexual and emotional maturity.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I find most attractive about our brotherhood is like, I find baiters to be so smart. Like, I feel like to be a baiter, like there's a certain level of intelligence, because I just feel like I have like these conversations, these sex positive conversations about sex and what that relationship with ourselves and how that relationship is with others, that I think a lot of people lack, because again, they're not focused on self, right? A lot of people,
they're not introspective of it.
Yeah, they're not like self-aware to begin to understand like, oh, like how does my sex affect this other person that I have in my life? But that's just me like being sex positive. Do you know the author or the sex I think he's a sex doctor. His name is Dr. Chris Donahue.
I've heard the name, but I couldn't necessarily like quote the books.
Yeah, he's like a I don't know, he's a pretty famous sex doctor, but like all his books, like the theme of his books is like, when you engage with someone in sex, like it's your priority, and you have to create like a safe space for these people. Like, you're sharing bodies, like it's a very intimate setting, like you're giving yourself to someone and that person's giving you that to you, and you have to like create this safe space. And so that's just my take on it. Like, I'm a very sex positive person, but you know, to each their own, whatever. Like, if you can get into role play, and you can get into all these like fetishes and all these things. It's so vast and it's fascinating to me, which is one of the reasons I'm so excited to start sex coach certification in the fall, because my number one priority is like solo sexual men. Like I really want to cater to y'all. Like I want to figure out and I want to help you navigate what's going on, because no one did it for me. I kind of had to figure it out on myself, and I want to be that go-to person. I don't know why. This is what I do in my life.
It's a legacy thing.
I think so. But also too, like it's an innate calling. But like I said, like I think years ago I would have thought to myself, I could never be that person. I just never saw myself as a sexual being. And solo sexuality has totally changed that. It's changed how it's affected every part of my life. Do you find that that's true though? Do you find once you begin to have this relationship with self, like it affects every aspect of your life? Like your friendships get better, your work relationships get better, your family relationships get better.
Yeah, well, and it's like you're aware of who you are and how you fit into your own world. You become much more effective at everything, unless it's interfering with your masturbation. And if that's the case, then you just gotta prioritize a couple of things. But I totally agree, because you understand people's motivations differently, I think, and therefore you can interact with them better because you understand your own motivations and what works for you.
I feel like it's made me a much loving person. There's like no other way to say it. Like
I'm much more enjoyable to be around.
Absolutely, because you're just like you're so vibing with yourself. And like when you vibe with yourself, you begin to be like, okay, well, if I treat myself well in masturbation, I can treat myself well when I go to the gym, because I love myself enough to work out and have a healthy body. I love myself not to eat crazy and like have like a balanced diet. And it's just like it really just it just influences your entire life only in a positive. Like I can't think of one negative thing to say about masturbation. Can you?
No. Clear. No.
There is
nothing bad to say.
There is none, and that's what's so shocking to me. That people are just like, it's just like this hobby, like it's just this thing. Especially men, like men are just like, well, it's just like this thing. I've gotten that so many times where it's just like, oh, like that's just a thing when I'm bored, and you're just like, well, that's in my life.
Well, and it's like I'll talk to like friends and they're like, oh yeah, like they just don't understand like how do you masturbate for like longer than 10 minutes. I'm like, because I'm not just in there to like rub one out before bed. Like that is me time. It's practically a meditation in certain cases. Like it is a completely different experience than just like I'm gonna come and go to sleep.
Absolutely, 100%. And I told my friend a couple of times, I was like, to me, like masturbation really is meditation. It's my daily practice. Like I cannot go a day without masturbation. And listen, sometimes they're long, sometimes they're quick, sometimes you just got to get it done. But I feel incomplete when I don't do it. I feel like there's something missing. But there's such a thing as bait breaks. Like I recently tweeted that, where it's just like it's time. I take time out to just kind of focus on other things that my body needs. But it's like it's a positive process, because when you get back to it, like, do you ever just take bait breaks and like go off like on 3-4 days, and then when you get back, it's like this intense, like,
yes,
crazy primal. We're just like, oh, I missed this. I need to like fuck myself so hard.
You're completely right. That's exactly what it's like. It's like, there was this one time, and I still remember, because we were talking about like bait breaks. It's like I unintentionally took one. I was so busy it was like 5 days in a row, and it was just like go with work and travel, and it rolled right into like a vacation where I was like scrambling and packing, and I just had no time to myself. And then that like 6th day was just like like this huge like just like exhale after all of that, because I like came back to like my self-pleasure practice.
Yeah,
it was like all that stress and everything just like melted away.
I'm like getting a semi as you talk.
You're welcome.
Thank you, thank you. I mean, that's so great. Like, I just feel like I've come to a point in my life where like masturbation is everything to me. So like, just hearing it and talking about it is like such a turn on to me. Where I'm just like, keep talking about it, bro. It stirred up stuff downstairs. Like, yeah, dude. It's such a bro thing, but again, like that's what I love about it. Like, I find it so endearing. I think it's really cool. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and take a quick break because we got to do that because we want to get this sponsorship going. So stick around, y'all. We will be back with the gorgeous Luke after this quick sponsor. Okay, cool. And we're back. That was a fun little break. I was able to get some more coffee. How about you?
I'm starting to run low, but it's earlier there than it is for me. So
who am I kidding? I don't even drink coffee.
Do you not? Really?
Yeah, I don't drink coffee. I'm very sensitive to like caffeines, and so like if I drink like 3 drops of coffee, I'm like wired the entire day. I will not sleep. It's insane. So I'm curious to know, like, why did you like? What was the process for you to like start showing off on Twitter and social media?
I just felt like it was one. I find it really hot when like normal guys share.
What do you mean by normal? What's
like
that
just
word,
like
Timothy?
non-porn, like non-professional porn,
like everyday men,
like just anyone. You can look like anything, but it's really hot to see. And I realized like I was not adding to that library of content, and I was taking from it essentially. And it's like I can share this. Like I don't have to, everybody in the world doesn't need to know who I am for me to share. Like I don't have to like share my face with those that I don't want to. Like I can just contribute in a small way, and there will be people that like what I do just like I like other people when they share. And so it was just kind of like this realization, like I can do something and I can do it on my own pace. Like I don't have to, like I'm not doing it for like the OnlyFans or anything like that. Like I'm just doing it because I enjoy to share certain things. And the nice thing about like I'll say Twitter sharing is like, you're limited in your characters and the number of photos, the length of your video. It's like, here's just a little snapshot of how I masturbated today. Or sometimes if like, I'm really like horned up for it, like here's a series from the same session of like how I masturbated today. And
it's like a little daily diary.
It kind of is. And it's really funny, like when you like kind of like if you scroll back and it's like, oh yeah, I remember that session. Like that was a really good bait. Like my penis was throbbing so hard. Like my nuts were huge. Like I could feel like the cum just boiling. Like it's like when you take pictures out at a restaurant and like, it's like for posterity almost like, oh yeah, I remember that day. And so, I started really slow and I just kind of like kept going and I just enjoyed sharing in that regard. And, don't get me wrong, like comments are great. The likes are great, but I don't feel the need to like self-promote really because it's more for me and to like feel like I'm like adding to the library of like beautiful penises out there.
That's hot. What are your DMs like?
I go through like weird waves where I get lots and then I get like none and then I get lots and then none. And a lot of, sometimes it's just like people saying like, hey, I really love, like, you have a beautiful penis, which is always feels great to hear. And
dude, I'll say that you have great nuts too. It's all good. It's all beautiful. You're a handsome guy.
And so, but then other people are like genuinely curious too. Like they want to know like more about like how I got into it, like kind of what we're talking about right here. They want to know like what lubes I like, where I got like my ball stretcher or my penis ring, or like why I pump my balls or whatever, things like that are going on. And that like, they found like someone retweeted me like from, a year ago. And then someone just found that clip, as it circled through the Twitterverse. Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, like, where are you? Like that kind of stuff.
Do you keep in mind like intention when you're showing off? I asked this question because like I started an OnlyFans and I was like trying to make whatever a couple bucks, and then I took a week off from like showing off because I needed really to reassess like what am I really trying to communicate here? Like what am I really trying to
I think
say?
I think I'm intentional when yes, I think I always post with some sort of intent.
Yeah.
To either because I really enjoyed what I was doing, and it's kind of that like, hey, here's a point in time that I really love this, or sometimes it's just like I really, I wanted, it's October, like it's Cocktober,
Yeah.
it's like, or if you're into it, lock it away. Like some people do the Locktober thing, like to like bring mindfulness to their bodies in other ways. Like that's all good. Like bringing awareness to something like that. Like May is masturbation month. It's my birthday month. Like I go all out in May because like it's a great message for people to see and hear that it's okay. And so like I just like to share when it's a good time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree 100%. And I think when I first started showing off, like it was a big decision for me to whether or not I wanted to show my face.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, the main decision to show my face was like I wanted someone to like be relatable. Like I wanted to be that guy. Like I set out with the intention knowing that I wanted to be this um this person of familiarity and know that like we are real people. Like I think for me like you can get lost if it's just like a penis. Like sure, if it's just a penis pic, it just kind of gets lost in like the fucking black hole of like cock shots. But when it's a person, like for me personally, when I see pictures of people's like naked with faces, I'm just like, holy shit. Because then I like you begin to have that narrative of like, who is this person? Like their face is gorgeous. Like what if I'm like making out with them? And like then the vanity becomes like this whole thing for me. I mean, people can have that fantasy if they don't see a face because they can imagine who it is. But I don't know. I'm like, maybe that's just me because I'm just like, oh, who are you? Like you're awesome, and I want to like know who you are. And there's your face.
And so like I don't, I'm very selective of like who I like share like my face with.
Sure.
And
But that's
I'll say like,
circumstantial, I think. That's
and
circumstantial.
it is circumstantial, and I'll tell like a little bit of the story. So one of my first like kind of there's really two, like if you want to say, mentors of my masturbation, and one is Proud Bader,
Yes,
who I
dude.
was a member of his
Yes.
website, like when he had his own website before he did the Just for Fans thing.
Can I just
Like,
say really quickly, when I discovered him when I moved back to LA and I was dating a guy that was a Bader, and he was like, "Oh, do you know who Browd Bader is?" And I was like, "No," and he showed me, and I was like, "Holy fuck!"
and so like he's one end of the Bader spectrum, and
Yeah.
then Melbourne Bader, who's a great author, love his books. I actually wrote a passage for one of his books. I'm like the last one of the contributions in that. So thank you, Melbourne
Huh.
Bader.
Which book is that? I have all of his books basically.
It's the one with the screw, the nut, and the bolt on the front.
Yeah, Real Men Masturbate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first masturbation book. I fangirl so hard for him, and he's DM'd me, and he's like read my articles, and he said such great things about me. I die.
So yeah, so he's the other end of, like no one knows exactly what his face looks like, really. Like I'm
Yeah,
sure
nobody.
some people do,
I don't know. I've never seen his face.
but I've never seen his face, and I think that's totally okay. And for me, and it's like sharing my face with people, that's a different level of like, I know you, you know me. It's just different for everybody, and I think that's okay that it's different for everybody too. So
Yeah, totally. There's never any pressure, and that I try to convey that to others too. Like people, like will hit me up on social media, and then we'll just be like, "Oh, I really want to like expose myself, but I'm not comfortable." And I'm just like, "Okay, well then just show your dick, or don't, or just show like your dick and your balls, and that's totally fine too." Trust me, there's a market for all that too.
there is a market for everything.
Everything. But I think another reason why I stopped like doing the whole OnlyFans thing was just started getting really seedy. Like I just started getting these messages that I was really uncomfortable with, and I was just like, I'm missing the mark here. There's a disconnect between what I really want to communicate and what people are perceiving it to be.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to change this. So I was just like, I need to stop with this. And then I took up vlogging, and like that's the thing that I did. Like I took it to Santa Barbara, and I was like, let me vlog this. But so essentially what I'm trying to do is like, here's everyday like solo sexuals are not some like weird, like abnormal, like awkward, like antisocial, like all these negative things that people can associate with. Like I'm fully functioning. I have a full-time job. I have really great friends. I love dogs. Like, like I'm like this real thing, functioning human out in the world that I want people to just be like, oh, that's a solo sexual. I see that guy on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I specifically plan it because it needs to be out there in that way, and I've never seen it done that way before. I want to be kind of like a pioneer.
I want to be a pioneer.
I want to be an MB Timothy. Like that's so inspiring to me, and like he's so inspiring to me. Like I would say, like he is the first person the first like major point of source of like leadership that I could relate to, and just like all his ideas of like self-loving and like reading his book The Real Men Masturbate. Like one of the things that he talked about was like, I made the conscious decision to be my own lover. And what does that encompass? It means having a hot body so I can turn myself on. It means eating great food so I can be really healthy. It means masturbating every day. All these like really positive things. And I was like, I'm gonna do that too. I'm really gonna do that too, and I'm gonna go.
We're just having like a fanboy like chat session about him now.
Like, I hope he listens to this. I'll definitely shut him out and be like, "Yo, we were totally fangirling over you. That's amazing." But I've never had a conversation with him. Have you? Like, have you talked to him?
No, not talk. I mean, obviously, like he's in Australia, like super different time zone. Like Twitter chat, like DMs, that kind of thing. And obviously, like when he was writing and collecting stories for the Real Men Masturbate book, like we've chatted that way, but never.
I wonder if he'll be on my podcast. Do you think he would do it if I asked him?
Maybe. You might have to get up really freaking early or really stay up really late, but yeah.
Well, I've been speaking with it's so weird. Like once you get into the sex game, like you begin to understand, like porn actors are really approachable people. Like you just
don't be creepy about it and like pervy. Like they're people. Like we're all people.
It's kind of like when you want to have a conversation with like someone famous, you don't fangirl for them, you treat them as a normal person. It's the same thing with like porn actors. And so like I get hit up by all these like OnlyFans actors and stuff, and there was a guy that hit me up, and then he looked really familiar, and I was like, I've seen this guy before, and I met him on Bait World, and he was like chatting me up or whatever, and then I realized he was a porn actor for like Lucasfilms, a total baiter. Like I had no idea. And we've like started talking on DMs and all this stuff. And then I asked him if he would be on my podcast, and he was like, "Yeah, that'd be totally cool." And it just boggles my mind. I'm just like, like that's cool. Like they're just so like nonchalant about it. And
I feel like I need to have a shirt made that said like baiters are people too.
Like this is what a baiter looks like. It's like pointing to my face.
And one arrow up and down.
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. God, I love talking about like penis and stuff. Are you really active on Bait World?
I'm like not. I am and I'm not. Like I go through phases where I have like a lot of time to do it, and like it's one of those things. Like I have to want to share and stuff like that. Like I love taking like the polls and like chatting with people and stuff like that. But sometimes like you get on there and you just have like this stream of people just like say hey. And then like, hi, what's going on? They're like, so I'm like, no, like, I'm not there for that. Like, let's have a real chat, or like, let's masturbate. Like, those are the two options.
Yeah, I feel the same way too. And I feel like as I've exposed myself, like now they see who I am, they're just much more inclined to be like, you're fucking hot. Like, like, what are you doing? Like, let's like masturbate. And I'm just like, hey, what's up? Like, how's it going? Like, how's your day been? And I feel like that's a much more pleasurable experience for me because now I have some context. Like I'm a big person on context. Like, well, what are you
Yep.
about? Like, what's your vibe? Are we gonna vibe or not?
Well, then, like that's like when I am like on Bait World and I get into vid chat and like everyone is like having like that same experience, like the experience that I want to have, then it's awesome. And that's like, and then I like, oh, I keep looking for it and over and over again kind of situation. So
Yeah, and then you have to like you have to like navigate those conversations too, right? You have to be like,
yes.
well, your profile is blank, like it just seems
You're telling me to show you my hole, like
yeah, you're like not offering anything in return. It's like this is like it's like a give and take here, bro. Like you got to work with me, like you get help me help you kind of situation that people just don't get. You know, but that's cool, whatever. Like I think people just come at their own pace, like people just discover it on their own time, and I always just try to be like really sensitive to that because I'm just like I'm an HSP, so I'm just like, listen, it's cool, bro, like you can get off to my dick pics, and when you're ready to talk, I'm here.
Yeah. Like go look at my Twitter, you can find like hours of little videos to get yourself going.
Exactly. Like, but I think that's such a brotherhood mentality thing to do. Like, do you does that resonate with you, the term brotherhood mentality?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I feel like
I think at one point it probably didn't, but like for the past several years, definitely. Like I came to the realization like it's good to be in the brotherhood of bathers and like to at least, you know, participate and talk and answer questions. And like that's one of my favorite things is when people have like intelligent questions around like bait sex. I mean, the umbrella term of anything that might be bait sex.
Yeah, and that's what I'm like. That's what's so fascinating to me. Like, I feel like any baiter that I've come in contact with or communicated in any kind of shape or form has always been like this intelligent, smart convo because when you're not physically engaging in sex together, and then you're just talking about it, you know, like you're honoring that space in a more communicative way rather than just like a physical action. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, it does.
And so I've always found it so fascinating. Like I'll literally like be with a bro or watching porno and we're like side by side masturbating and we'll be talking about like some fucking passage that I read in this book. And I'm just like, yeah, don't you find that fascinating? And I'm just like stroking my dick fully erect. And he's just like, oh yeah, that's so interesting. And like we'll comment on like the porn and then like we'll have a conversation of how we relate to it. Like, is there like a black guy in the porn? Is there like a Latino guy? Like, what is your preference and how does that matter to you? And like fully
have an intelligent conversation while erect and stroking.
I was like, you can't, like, you have to be smart to be a baiter. But that's not true. You don't have to. Like, it's not like a prerequisite. You can come as you are.
Come as you are.
Exactly. Just keep coming. Come. Oh my god, that's so funny. Yeah. And so like I think for me, like one of the joys that's been being in social media is like just finding people that aren't in your vicinity.
Yeah.
That have like more experience than you. Again, like I've met people all over the world. Has that been for you? Like have you engaged in like places that you never thought people would engage with you in?
Yes. And it's like, oh yeah, you're in Germany. Like, okay, well, like we can still have like, it's like, thankfully, like you speak English. I don't speak German, but it's like, yeah, let's have like a conversation and like, let's stroke and like just one-on-one and, you know, chill like over the web.
And sometimes you don't even need words. It's like you turn on your camera. Here's my dick. Here's your dick. I'm watching you. This is hot. Like let's get into it.
Let's stroke for stroke.
It's all about like these social cues where you're just like, you know, thumbs up. Like yeah, like here's my dick. Like thumbs up. Like I'm fully good. Like you. I think that's what another thing that's a enjoyable thing about being a male. Like we
get it. We all know what each other is going through in that moment. It's like
our sexual expression is so visual, like it's so external. Like you're not gonna hide a hard on or a boner. Like I see that boner, bro. I know it's working for you. So it's working for me too. Which I think is so beautiful. What do you like? Do you read like? Do you look at baiter material that's not like sexual? Like, do you read books? Do you like write? What's your process? What's your relation to like masturbation and
as a
creativity? Yeah.
as a whole, I hate writing.
Do you
It's
really?
something I never really liked doing. Like I'm a very concise person usually, and so like,
Mm.
I was that kid. They're like, "Oh, you have to write 2 pages." I'm like, "Oh my god, I have to write 2 pages." Like, so that's never really been my outlet. I do love to read. I love like really good like bait erotica. Like, there's not enough of it out there. Like, I wish more people would write, even though I'm not a writer.
Wait, say like who? Like I want to know. Like what
So
are you?
there is actually a really great website called Nifty,
I know
where people
Nifty.
like, they like, people can post whatever they want to write, and there is like bait literature out there and like good
Mm,
erotica that's related to masturbation.
mm.
Obviously, like all of the books that MD Timothy wrote and then Jason Armstrong wrote as well. Those are all really like, that's the thing, is like, it's not all written under the lens of like, this is written to turn you on. You can still get turned on reading it. But then, in terms of like overall bait, obviously like everything going on in bait world, Twitter, gotta love all that stuff. So
Yeah, that's true too. Like I made it a point to like really like again, like I always tell people, like you have to put in the work. So you have to like really research what you're reading and you have to go out there and seek the sources. And again, yes, like there's not enough of it, which is again one of the reasons why I even started this podcast and why I even started writing. Like Bait World hit me up. They were I forgot how it even started. Like he saw like someone on their social media team like saw a picture of me and then they reached out and they were just like, you're hot, like we love your Twitter, like would you be interested in writing a piece? I'm like, yeah. Like
well, and it's like, I feel like if
absolutely.
someone's like, oh, would you write about something specific, like I would totally do it. Like, but it's
I'm
never been something
surprised
where
I'm surprised you haven't been asked. I'm sure you've been asked.
no.
What? That's insane. You've
Maybe
like
I'm just like a really good kept secret. I don't know.
shout out to
But
hey.
if someone was like, this is like any Q&A, if someone's like, hey, talk about this, like I can talk around anything that I've had a personal experience in,
Yeah,
but it's always under the lens of like, does somebody even want it?
yeah.
And like, until
Mm,
like someone says I want it, like I don't always know to give it. So when
mm.
you're like, hey, like, do you want to like, do podcast, like, looking for people or whatever, like I was like, oh yeah, I'll totally like get on and like talk around masturbation and penis and all that great stuff with the brotherhood. Like that's like my thing, because people want to know, you want to talk about it, like
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
The
No,
hardest thing was finding a time that worked for both of us.
that's true. Yeah, that's true. But I'm glad we did find a time. That was great. But yeah, I feel the same way, and I think for me it's been cathartic in a lot of ways of like being able to like express my ideas. Like again, like I as a person, like as I kind of older, I feel like I've become much more solo. Like just in terms of everything. Like I really have a really small group select of friends that I cherish my time with and that I hang out with. Most of them women, unfortunately. And I would love, and this is something that I struggle with in my own personal life, I would love to have a constant group of like brothers, bros, just straight up homies that I can go to the movies with, gym, like just text me, come over, watch a movie. It doesn't even have to be sexual, right? But that has that opportunity to be sexual. I think that's like ideal, and I think that's ideal for all brothers.
You're like, I really want my unicorn to be purple.
But I
But
think it recalls a time to me of a very like early adolescence innocence of like
yes.
here we are as young men discovering our sexuality, like getting these boners, having hair on our bodies, and like really kind of navigating these things together because we're all boys and we all know what's happening to each other, and like shyly secretly talking about it because it's like no homo bro, right? Because it's like some of us aren't and some of us are, some of us turn out to whatever. But I think that's one of the things that I find attractive about being like in a brotherhood and a bait group. Like it's reminiscent of that time, which is really sexy to me. Do you relate to that? Is that relatable?
I mean, I wish like when I was younger, I had that. Like I didn't like, again, like I mentioned, like private school, like little
Sure.
Catholic, like very like from a very repressed group of childhood friends.
I was gonna say, if you went, it was it an all boys school?
No, it was not all boys. That would
Oh,
have
okay,
been
okay, okay.
but it was very repressed group of friends, which I got out of, and now have a much more open group of friends, but not quite as open as like, you know, it was like always like, oh, I want that when
Yeah.
I, you know, you would, when I was younger, especially. And now it's like, I have to connect with people on my own terms now, which is okay.
Yeah, that is okay. And I think that that was another huge catalyst for me to just go public also too, because I was just like, that's a thing that that I always try to keep at the back of my mind. Like I did this because I essentially wanted to make a friend. I was just like, here's my dick. Oh, that's your dick too. Are you cool? Like, do you live in the same city? Let's go to the movies. Like that's, you know, like that's what social media, but I soon realized that when you show your cock, you're gonna get a lot more attention. People are gonna take a bigger interest in what you're having to say because you're out there like showing your dick. And then and then also to like to my own horn, when you're above average in your penis size, I could take that's another addition to
Yeah.
like the visuals of what you're going on. And then, you know, I get a lot of hits are just like, yeah, your dick's amazing. I'm just like, yeah, cool. Like, what's your favorite movie?
Yeah. Tell me a story, bro.
Yeah, because it's just me, because I'm just like, I want friends, like I want bros. Like I never really had that growing up. And maybe that's another reason why I'm so sexual. I feel like there's it's so nuanced. There's so many different levels, and I always try to remember that experience isn't shared. Um, and so for me, like growing up, like I was always kind of like the outcast. I was kind of always like the freak, and I wasn't like the sporty guy. Like, you know, I wasn't the guy that had a bunch of friends. You know, but you have that group of clique of people, and I think I've always kind of like been in search of that because it's sexy to me to be like, here are your bros on a Friday night drinking beer and like, let's watch some porn, and then everyone's like jerking, and you're just like, that's cool.
So I guess I'm, you know, you're single and in a
Yeah,
big city.
in
Like
Los Angeles. Yeah.
pre-COVID, do you feel like it was easier to like make some bro friends and connect? Like, I just feel like you have such a larger population you could be pulling from of potential bro friends than say someone that like lives in the middle of nowhere, Midwest.
Let me say, LA, I love LA. I'm born and raised. I'm from it. LA is a very complicated city to live in. It's like like unother. So the reason why I can say that now is because I lived in New York for a couple of years. So I definitely can see the differences between the two cities, and they're big cities. New York is huge.
Yeah.
LA is huge, and I find that people in general in LA have a certain air about them, kind of like we're all kind of celebrities here because it's like the land of Hollywood. You know, I work so close to like Beverly Hills and like that kind of like world, and so it's very hard to engage on a personal level such as this. People just don't have time for it. They're just like,
Got it.
oh, like, what do you have to offer me? Not really much. So like, let's move on. Whereas my experiences in New York were like, yeah, bro, like I'm downstairs in your apartment building. You're gonna come out and hang out because I got shit to do. That was my experience, and I was like, holy shit, like people are really down. Like when you say something, people are committed to like having this like relationship or this interaction with you. I find it much more difficult to find those here in Los Angeles, even though it's a big city. It sucks.
We are a small community that is very spread out. That is just a fact.
That is 100. That is like the realest thing I've heard in a really long time. Which is why like places like Bait World and Twitter and Instagram are so great. Like I never, like I said, like it never occurred to me that I could navigate these spaces and find the people that I needed to find.
Yeah, one is like, you know, I encourage everybody, like, as you know, if you can figure yourself out sooner in life and get exposed to those communities, you will be much happier, faster, essentially, in life. Because like, you know, I think back, like if I had learned about all these things 10 years ago, where might I be now? Who knows? Like, I'm not saying it would be better or worse than I am right now, but it's always just like, what if? Well, it's like, you can't play the what if game forever. Like, get out there, meet the bros, be safe, be smart, but experience life and get to know yourself.
Yeah, engage. Like, just go out there and make it happen. Like, you can't just sit around and like not make it happen. Like, it has to be like a conscious effort.
Correct.
You know, like, and like I said before, like I think it just comes whenever it comes. Like for me, like I think it's gonna be a different podcast. So like an idea I didn't mention it in like the first season, but I really like a podcast that will be coming up in this future series would be like from my own words, like my solo sexual discovery, like the steps in which it happened. Like I sort of wrote about it on Bait World for the Baiter blog. Like I wrote like my very first article was like, oh, it happened in New York and met this boy, but like I'm gonna go deep back into like childhood, growing up, like how all this affected. And that's so interesting to me because you found that at such a young age. Like I'm 38 now. And like I said, I found it when I was like, what, 33, 32. And in the span of those years, I've learned strides about myself that I had no idea all through my 20s. I was like oblivious.
Well, you know, there's still people that are in like their 60s and 70s discovering it. Like, that's the crazy thing is like, you know, everyone arrives at their own time.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think the benefit of technology is that it's allowing people to arrive sooner. Like, find out who you are sooner.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Absolutely.
Like,
and you discover like new things about yourself, and you take agency, so now you're able to dictate like how you want to be perceived. Like people always ask me like in the bait community, they're just like, oh, are you gay or you're straight? And I'm just like, I'm a baiter. Like to me at this point, like and this is like a really controversial thing to say, but like I don't believe like sexual orientation doesn't exist to me anymore.
There's so many, and it's like, you know, everyone wants to put one bucket. It's like the bucket's actually really wide, like
So
of things
wide.
I find interesting sexually. But there are things outside of the bucket that don't interest me, and that's okay. It's, you know, it's the whole spectrum versus, you know, there's only like 3 buckets. No, there's an infinite number of buckets, and sometimes you're willing to play in different areas that you might not 2 weeks later or.
I like to say that it's a beta spectrum.
Yeah.
And you're on it, like, and it can change too. And I think that's such a beauty. And so I've made it a conscious choice in my life to just move freely. Like I wrote articles like be rivers and not lakes, because you're just like, you're moving through like this like journey, and you're not staying stagnant, right? You're not just like, okay, this is what I am. I'm fully beta and that's it. And then you just sit there. It's just like, no, bro, like you have a choice. You have like the ability to just kind of navigate like different things. Like, okay, this worked out for a couple of months and now you're this for a couple of months. Maybe this resonates you for a couple of years and then it changes. So like, I've learned that on my own being a baiter. That's why I'm saying like masturbation has brought nothing but positivity to my life.
Everybody get on the masturbation train.
Everybody. Like it's you know, it's like safe sex. It's You're not hurting anyone. It's only pleasurable. And, you know, as a man, like you have this thing that you can just at any moment whip out.
Well, and you know, it makes me wonder, like, so, and you're like, oh, as a man, you can just like whip it out. It's like, I'm very curious, like, is there like a masturbation community of women?
That's like fascinating. I'm actually going to have my best friend on this podcast, and she's a woman, and I'm going to get her perspective.
Because like
super interested to it.
I know so many women that, you know, they are essentially responsible for their own orgasms.
All the time.
All the time. Even with their husbands or their boyfriends or their girlfriends, like they're still responsible for, like, I hope that there is like a community out there of like masturbating women.
I think there are. I feel like I've had this conversation with my friend, and she's like, "Yeah, there are women like I think she called it side by side play
Okay.
or something like that. You know what? Essentially, it's the same thing with men. Like you're just like
Yeah.
touching each other's genitals, which is cool. I love that. But do
I always
you?
thought about it as like, like the convenience, like, so like I have a circumcised penis.
Yeah,
I need lube. Like
yeah.
it is just a fact. Like I didn't have a choice in it. I was like, man, if I was uncircumcised, I could just whip that out anytime. I wouldn't need any lube or anything. Be so I have a problem.
I'm uncut, and so I can for a long time when I didn't discover the magic of lube, like I was doing it dry, like I was literally doing it dry. Let me tell
Yeah.
you, lube is a game changer.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm doing it dry again. Like I actually hate it now. It's like I cannot. Like I don't like using spit. I know a lot of
No.
I know a lot of men enjoy like they'll just like on their hand and just
Yeah.
like go at it. Not for me. I'm like that shit dries out so quick and I chafe. I have a very sensitive penis.
Well, it's like I like to treat mine like I treat my face.
Yeah.
It is just as, if not more important. Like moisturize, exfoliate.
That's your dong, bro. Like take
Yeah.
care of that shit. Like that's and then that's
Get
just
to know it.
that's another guy thing too. It's just like this is my fucking like dick. Like this is my manhood, and I'm gonna make it look beautiful and pretty, and I'm gonna make it smell good because it's my shit. Like
Yeah.
it's such a like um it's such a male dominant centric quality about us.
Well, and I'll say this because like recording myself allows me to watch myself. Watching myself makes me more aware of things. Like watch your testicles move, like watch your balls react as you masturbate. Like one of the hottest things ever. And like people don't realize it, like your testicles are always moving, consciously or not. They are constantly in motion.
Your
Like
balls have like their own feelings.
but they're like the ocean is they're like moving all the time. And it's like just watch yourself. Like you will get so much a better understanding of like at this moment, that's when I feel that pleasure, like every single time.
One of the other great fascinating things that I've discovered about recording myself, and even recording myself on my sex, which I've never done before, is dealing with my my BD or my body dysmorphia. And it's allowed me to really start to like see myself as this like beautiful sexual thing, because when you like for me when I first started coming on the gay scene, like you just saw a certain type of man and you were trying to like, go after this like appearance and like you've kind of felt like it was the only thing to look like in order to validate who you are as like a healthy gay male, and I didn't look like any of those things, so I just thought it was hideous. But when you take back control of like your own sexual narrative, you're just like, oh, like I love my big lips and I love my facial and my nose and my eyes and my dark curly hair. And so then you're just like, oh, like you're sexy. So now I'm able to like see myself when I watch myself masturbate or when I watch myself in a sexual act. I'm just like, that guy's hot. Like I can disassociate myself from who I am in the video and think, wow, that guy is fucking sexy. Like, look at him go. And I'm just like, yeah, that's me. Like,
That's me.
A really
Yeah,
powerful experience. I always recommend. I always help brothers to do it. I'm like, bro, like get a camera or like get a mirror and like watch.
go to town.
Go to fucking town. Like, oh, everything. Look at everything, dude.
I was traveling for work and I was in a hotel room and it was one of those like at some point in time some like horny like bastard decided I'm gonna put the closet right next to the bed and I'm gonna have that whole wall be mirrors. Because people are going to like to be in this room and watch themselves. And you can be damn sure that's exactly what I did. I was like, this is great. I need to install these in my own house.
You're like, a beta thought of this.
Yep.
100%. Like, I always
like,
watch that.
Great lighting, mirrors. Like, it was like, yep, this is exactly what this was made for.
Yeah. I do that when I watch like porn. I'm just like, he's such a baiter. Like, it's funny, like now I'm able to identify them, like even while I'm watching them. Like, that guy's a fucking baiter. You
Yeah.
can tell by the way he strokes his cock. You can tell by the expressions that he has on his face. He's fucking in it to win it.
Yeah, and like, and you know, it's you were talking earlier about like, you know, you have this porn star that you talk to and stuff like that. It's like, I feel like a lot of great porn stars are great masturbators.
I would think you'd have to be.
And it's like, it shows like when they finish, like when they like, you know, pull out or whatever, and like they were like finishing the job. I'm like, yeah, that's the moment that you needed, because that's who you really are.
Yeah, it's so true. It's forever true. And I love porn. Do you love porn? Are you a visual person? Do you like, I can get off like by myself? Like I thought for a while that I was getting addicted to porn, and I was like, I should probably not do this right now for a minute. And then I went a couple of days and I was like, it's kind of fun. But
I don't get me wrong, I really like it. I try to like vary like my source of enjoyment. Like sometimes I just like listen to things on like SoundCloud. Like there's some great, like, you know, you can like literally listen to like people masturbate on SoundCloud.
I'm not there yet, and you need to give me links when we get off this call, because I really want to tap into all of that.
And you know, it takes some searching, but it's out there. And like, and the other times, like I'll just like read some erotica, or I'll watch some porn, or like I'll just do it on my own and like just like visualize or like watch myself. Like I try to keep it like varied. You know, it's like, use your other hand. Like you got to keep it different all the time. Otherwise it's like you get into this like, okay, I feel like I've watched the same porn like 12 times. Like, like how in all of this deep abyss of porn is like, am I like seeing the same thing over again? Like, so I just try to like shift it up all the time.
When you do watch porn, what kind of porn are you into? Like, what really gets you off?
Oh God. I mean, it depends like on how long I've been masturbating for, really, I think. Cause like, I think the longer I go, the more I want it to be like baiter porn. Like edging video, like what, like I love to watch like other guys go for a long time, like that I'm going that long with them. But also, you know, like I'll watch gay porn usually to like get started. Like, you know, I find it very visually appealing, like to like watch male bodies in motion, like give and receive pleasure.
Yeah.
But then like I really like watching other like solo dudes get off.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll say like it's the couch casting, kind of like your first time in porn kind of thing. Like, you know, just like watching this random guy who has no coaching, no training, like he's not a professional, just like have a good time with his penis and like make it work. And like, I enjoy that. I enjoy poppers occasionally. So like, I love a good like popper video, like some good training. Like Eric Hassan is also a great masturbator and like content producer. His stuff is really fun to like bait along with.
Is it? I've never seen. I've only seen like his Twitter stuff, but I've never actually seen like a full length video of his.
I mean, they're like full on like, you know, 20-minute plus videos of him like coaching, huffing, stroking, very verbal, very hot.
I should check it out.
You really should.
Okay.
Shout out to Eric. So yeah, like, I mean, it varies. Like it really does. You know, I don't have like a particular, like, I'll say like fetish for one thing or another, but like the porn, I would say the porn that like I avoid is like when it doesn't seem like people are really having a good time doing what they're doing. Like a lot of overproduced porn. It's like, okay, you can tell this person is like, you're going to do this position, this position, this position. You're going to go for this long in each one. Like we're going to flip. You're going to like do that. Like it too methodical, too repetitive. Like the whole like Sean Cody thing kind of. It becomes very boring. Like there's nothing organic about it. So
nothing. So I would take it that you're a big fan of like XTube.
I did the XTube. I did a lot of XTube watching when I was younger.
Okay.
Now, so I invested in the Pornhub premium membership.
Do you really?
I did. I was like, I had tried, like essentially like went on like a trial spree of different like porn producers for a while. And like, you know, I was not afraid to like, you know, drop the $50 here and try it and see what it was like.
Sure.
And it kind of came back to like, I want to have a diversity of porn at my fingertips at any given time. And the thing about like, you know, there's a lot of people on Pornhub that's like an extension of Twitter. where they just like, they can post a longer video of themselves doing exactly what they would do on Twitter, either solo or with their partner or whatever.
Yeah.
And, then it's, they just sharing at that point. And some of them like they charge and some of them don't. And I think that's really cool. And so it's always great to like go give those people views as well. And,
Well, yeah, that's the one thing I really enjoyed about OnlyFans. Like now it's like we're taking the power back. It's like I don't have to wait for someone to find me sexy. Like I'm just sexy, so here it is. And then you as a person can be like, I resonate with that. Like that's who I am, and I can be like, I'm gonna support that guy. So here's like $5 for a monthly subscription.
Yeah.
I'm all about sex workers. I respect my sex workers. I like to tip my strippers. Like having been in the game for a minute, like I get it. Like just like listen, like this isn't like a free show, bro. Like I got student loans to pay, and I got like a car note that I got to take care of. Like it's all going to a good place, trust me. But it's everyone's on it now, so it's like it's really saturated, which is unfortunate. So then again, like it's not.
Well, it's like how many $5 a month, $10 a month subscriptions can one really afford at a time? Like it's like, are you doing a different guy every month then? And like whatever it might be, like get your goodies.
Yeah, and it's really competitive, and it's just like and then also too, like what I found too doing that is just like people are just wanting to see you do more and more and more things. And you're just like, listen, I'm a masturbator. Like
this is what I do.
I'm not gonna go raw dog some bro in some park for you to get off to. Like that's just not my thing. And then there's like, well, then I'm not gonna subscribe, and it becomes this whole like gross thing. Which for me, like again, like sex to me is like only positive. And not to say that raw dogging someone in a park is not positive. You can totally.
And the thing is like totally everyone likes different things. Like there are
absolutely
people like have I ever been fisted? Yes. Do I want to be done all the time? Definitely not.
Yeah.
But when you can tell when someone really enjoys something, it's hot for them. It can be hot for you to watch them doing it. But it's like, different strokes for different folks.
Because you know why too? Because it's like for me, it's just like, holy shit, like my brother is having a ball getting his ass fisted, and that's fucking hot. And I'm getting turned on because my bro is having a really great time, and I want him to live the best life he possibly can.
The best time possible.
Yep. That, my friend, is called brotherhood mentality.
There you go.
It really is. Oh my god. Okay. Well, shit. I mean, we've been talking about for an hour and a half. I feel like.
Holy crap! Yes, it is. It's like, oh, yes, it has.
Yeah, I feel like this is a really great. This has been such a wonderful conversation.
We need to get we can do this again and have like, you have like a series of different people, and then we'll all get together on like one chat.
That'd be cool. I feel like it'd be like so many different voices. I'd have to like understand and navigate that. I would find it really interesting to have like a third person in the conversation. That might be like another thing. I might, if you're willing, I might invite you back.
Yeah.
You know what would be really cool? If you and me have a conversation with MB. We would die. We'd be like, holy shit, here's like our fucking like holy grail.
Well, and then,
he's so cool.
Talk him into getting his beta boyfriend on with him. And...
Let me tell you, as soon as that beta boyfriend came on, I was just like, this is it. This is what I'm trying to achieve, man. This is what I need in my life. If he can do it, I can do it too. And they're both so fucking sexy. Like, it's unfair. It's unfair how gorgeous they both are. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, not only are you fucking sexy, but you gotta get like a man that's equally as amazing as you. Like, how's that? I can't even deal.
Go watch the Baiter training series on Bait World. Very enjoyable.
Yeah, I might do that. Was that I've seen a little caption.
He did one.
That's with MB.
Yeah, he did a series. He did a whole video on it with his his boyfriends in it with him and some of it. And like Proud Baiter did one. They all have like different topics. You're like living under a rock, and you're like, oh my god, I need to get off right now and go masturbate.
I'm like, maybe we can watch together. Yeah, no, I want to thank you so much for having this conversation with me. Let me shout you out again. This is your only like exhibition, like you're not on like Instagram or anything on Snapchat?
No, I have like very low threshold for like social media. Like I didn't do the Snapchat thing. I never did the Instagram thing. Like it just wasn't so much effort sometimes. I'm like, okay.
It's a lot. Listen, Yeah, I'm like trying to get into this social like influencer game, and it's a lot. It's like a
It's a
full-time,
lot.
it's a full-time gig. Like even I don't have a full grasp of like what these young kids do, and they're so good at it. I don't know even know how to navigate that. But
But
if
yeah,
there,
so just my Twitter at Bader Luke. That's the only one. Or find me on Bait World.
yeah. So at Bader Look on Twitter, Bader Look, and then you can see the he has his the profile picture is like I think it's your legs.
I don't even
Like,
know. Hold
oh,
on. Is it my pit?
it's that.
Oh yeah,
It's
those are my legs.
yeah, it's your leg, and then it's like whited out by a white circle. It says cover Bader. And then you can also find Luke on Bait World at Bader Luke Comer with a K. So it's really important. And then you can find me on social media. I'm pretty much everywhere. I'm on Instagram and Twitter and here and Bait World, all under the alias Beastly Bader, which has nothing to do with bestiality. I get that so much.
I bet you do.
I was like, what was I thinking? I just like the two words together. I thought they sounded really cool. Very cool. So thank you so much. I really hope that people find this podcast really enlightening and entertaining. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're just trying to send out love and make masturbation cool. That's what we do.
And answer questions around it too. Like
yes. Okay. So please ask us questions. Hit us up. We're your brothers. You can hit me up on this podcast. You can DM each other, us. Like this won't be the last time we collaborate. I'm sure. I've had a really wonderful time speaking to you, and I hope to do this again in the future for sure.
Same.
Okay, cool. All right. Well,
bye guys.
Bye everyone. We'll check you out in the next episode. Have a good one.